My name's Paul, welcome to Paul Perambulates. In this episode, I'm on the south coast of England, on the Isle of Purbeck, walking the eastern end of the Lulworth Range Walks. My start point is the Kimmeridge Quarry car park. Postcode BH205PE. Grid reference SY91868002. What 3 words? Perfume, deriving, talent. I first head northward to join the Purbeck Hills, then follow that range westward via Povington Hill and Whiteway Hill to Flowers Barrow Hill Fort. I turn south, passing Worbarrow Bay, then head inland to have a look at the abandoned village museum of Tyneham. I then head south to the coast path and climb up to see the excellent views from Tyneham Cap. From there I continue eastwards back to Kimmeridge Quarry. Total distance 15.8 kilometres. Total height gain 439 metres. Total walking time 4 hours and 49 minutes. Car park in a disused quarry just north of Kimmeridge. At 20 spaces if you pack them in. Free, no gates. Walking into the car park. It's a Sunday in August, good weather forecast. It's actually fairly full, so clearly quite a popular spot. Obviously I checked before I came, but still reassuring to see the sign. You can see my path down through this field, and looking up there's a field of crops just on the right, the other side of the valley, and I can see the path through that, and then we'll be up onto the Purbeck Hills beyond. Going through a beautiful wild meadow before we get to that field of crops. The path is lovely and clear, even though it's the height of summer and it's all very grown. And here's where we plunge into the crops. No idea what it is, but at this time of year, mid-August, it's almost certainly nearly fully grown. But we could see the path from a distance, and as we're going along it, it's extremely clear. And I can see actually as I get further along that it's corn. As with so much of the high ground on the English south coast, the Purbeck Hills are made of chalk, which we can clearly see here. Bit of a climb up onto the top now, but once we get there we're on the ridge, walking along it. Should get some sumptuous views. In the meantime, more evidence of the chalk composition of the Purbeck Hills. We've arrived at a nature reserve. Here it is. This is Stonehill Down, containing rare wildflowers, butterflies and insects. What it also contains is some pretty impressive views. The Isle of Purbeck, looking out into the English Channel, Isle of Wight hazy in the distance, looking along the Purbeck Hills, and then coming round to Poole Harbour, Brownsea Island in the middle there. Also here, an interesting milestone, pointing at a couple of the places that we'll be visiting later. For a good while now, we're going along the ridge, enjoying the views. As we walk along the ridge, we suddenly come round the corner and find this classic hilltop folly, the Grange Arch. This was built in the early 18th century by Dennis Bond, more famous for the street named after him in London, which he created on a marshy rubbish tip. And the purpose of this was purely to be a feature on the ridge as you looked up from Creech Grange down below. As we walk through it, we can look down and see Creech Grange. That nearly the highest point on the ridge, so as we come down past it, we can see most of the way along the rest of the ridge where we're going to walk. As we go along, we come to a couple of car parks along the top of the ridge where it meets the main road. This one is huge, it's free, and you get a great view from it. I've alluded to the Lulworth Ranges, so what are they? They are actually military firing ranges. This sign gives all the detail. Obviously it's not safe to be here when the military are lobbing shells around, so on those occasions they are closed to the public. Nice memorial here. Plenty of information about the Lulworth Ranges themselves. Pictures of tanks along the top, because that's what they use to practice around here. When the ranges are open, you can drive right down to the western end, and you can park there. Just be wary. This gate closes. The time obviously varies. Further along the ridge, another big car park at Povington Hill. Subject to all the same rules as the previous one we saw. There's a stone seat up here, a memorial to Nigel Hall Hotchkiss, one of the Legion of Volunteers who preserve and keep the paths open for us. The view behind it over Dorset is pretty amazing. If you're actually sitting in it, you're getting a fabulous view of the English Channel. Coming up to the top of Whiteway Hill now, all the way around the range walks, you have these pairs of yellow poles with the path going right between them. Makes navigation incredibly simple. Here's the next pair, and they just keep on coming. So if you don't see any of these for a while, you know you're lost. I'm at Whiteway Hill trig point now, 185 metres. Great views in the background. Heading away from the trig point, looking westward along the Jurassic coast, we can see that we're going to get some excellent new views opening up at this end of the walk. Heading along the ridge, looking inland, we can see Lulworth Castle. Not an original medieval one, built in the 17th century, destroyed by fire in 1929, but restored with the help of English Heritage. Now a wedding venue, but you can visit as well apparently. I'm now stood between the outer and inner defensive rings of Flowers Barrow Iron Age Hill Fort. 2,500 years old. Fabulous view inland over Dorset, Lulworth Castle visible. The southern ramparts are almost completely gone, having fallen into the sea due to erosion. Coming out of the other way through the ramparts, view along the chalk cliffs of the Jurassic coast opens up. It's not hard to see why they built a hill fort here. What a view! To the west, Portland Bill visible through the haze. Closer, we can now see the white cliffs that are the signature of the south coast of England. This headland is called Worbarrow Tout, tout being an old English word for lookout. Away to the east, we can see over the length of the Isle of Purbeck to St Aldhelm's Head. The descent from Flowers Barrow to Worbarrow Bay is very, very steep, I would warn you. You can see some people carefully negotiating it down there. As ever, for a very steep descent, I've got my poles out. Here's the view up from the bottom. Some more people edging their way down it. Extremely steep, take care with it. The lower part is much friendlier and I can enjoy the view. Excellent signposts continue to point the way. Plenty of families on the beach at Worbarrow Bay enjoying this beautiful scenery, bookended on one side by the white cliffs and on the other by Worbarrow Tout. Heading away from the coast now, coming inland. Going to have a look at something of some historical significance. This is the abandoned village of Tyneham. empty since 1943 and now a museum. This is the car park at Tyneham. You can drive directly here. Funded by donations. Closes at night, obviously shut when the range is shut. Abandoned is misleading. It was actually requisitioned by the army for training purposes, hence the shelling damage here. The small but beautiful 15th century St Mary's Church has mercifully escaped the shelling. The village itself dates back further, appearing as Tyneham in the Domesday Book. The land here was originally owned by the Bond family, the same who built Grange Arch that we saw earlier. Walking into the church now, let's have a look and see what it's like on the inside. The only other building that has obviously been spared use by the military for training is the school. This is the school and contains an exhibition, including a classroom laid out as it would have been in the 1920s. This is the gardener's cottage, occupied by the Gould family until, of course, 1943. And there's some information here about their part in the protests that continued after the war for the residents of Tyneham to be allowed home, which they never were. This building is clearly unsafe, surrounded by safety fencing. Not that old. Ruined by shelling. Heading away from Tyneham now, still following the yellow posts, heading toward, but not completely to, the coast. Behind me, another staggering view of those beautiful white cliffs. I'm now on the parallel ridge, going eastward, heading back towards Kimmeridge. So I've got high up enough now that I can see over the top of it, and I can see the English Channel and the coastline. But I imagine when I get up onto that point up there, I'll probably get some even better views. Big climb to get up here, Tyneham Cap, the local top in this area of the coast. But when you get here, there is a seat which has the most unbelievable views. I've already had my lunch. If I hadn't, I'd be having it here. Looking out over the English Channel, a bit hazy today. On a really good day, you'd be able to see for miles and miles and miles. Well, I'm absolutely stopping here for a coffee. Cheers! I have to include the dedication on the seat here. Townley Shenton loved this view and he hopes that you will too. Sandy doesn't hope in vain, although I would argue that anybody who didn't love this view would be missing something fundamental about being human. It's not a particularly clear day today, and yet it's absolutely staggering. If it was, I think I would be glad that the seat is here, because it would be so overpoweringly impressive that I would need to sit down. Looking west, we see Gad Cliff, and the backdrop as we pull out is Portland Bill and the Jurassic Coast. Looking east, St Aldhelm's Head is closer and clearer now. Coming away from that, Clavell Tower comes into the bottom of the picture. We will be looking at that from slightly closer later on. We'll lose sight of the White Cliffs as we drop down from here, so we'll take a last opportunity to enjoy them. From here, it's a fabulous ridge walk. You can see the path winding away in the distance there, and there is some fantastic scenery going on to my right and below me. On a headland above Kimmeridge Bay is Clavell Tower, another folly built in 1817 as a summer house for the local squire, now a ruin. The Lulworth Range Walks. The first thing to say is, if you're going to come and do them, check on the internet whether they're open. Sometimes the whole area is shut, other times the access is restricted, sometimes the parking can be difficult. Difficulty wise, I'm going to give that walk a 4. Now, it's quite an easy walk, to be honest. The only reason I'm going for 4 is because it's quite long and there are a couple of hard climbs and one extremely steep descent in it. There is almost no navigation to do. The yellow poles that sit either side of the range walk paths show you exactly where to go. You don't even need to think about it most of the way. It benefits from consisting mainly of 2 parallel ridges running along the south coast, one right out on the coast, the other a little bit inland. So most of the way you're extremely high up, and what that means is views, sumptuous views, both inland of Dorset and then along the west of the Jurassic Coast, out to the sea in the south and along the east towards Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. If you like a view, this is definitely the sort of walk that you want to be doing. I would thoroughly recommend it. I've had a really lovely day. All maps and 3D fly-throughs provided by kind permission of Ordnance Survey through their excellent OS Online application. Big thanks also for all music used in this video to mixkit.co and upbeat.io. Specific song and artist credits can be found in the comments. These videos are designed to show you around the routes I walk in case you're considering doing them yourself. They are not designed to be any kind of hill walking training or guidance. If you need hill walking skills, obtain them in person from a reputable, qualified provider. Please don't attempt these walks without appropriate levels of fitness and equipment. If you don't have the required levels of knowledge and experience, only undertake them accompanied by somebody who does. You can find out more about me and my background and experience at my website paulperambulates.co.uk. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Paul Perambulates. If you did, please subscribe and share.